All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Casey on Tap. Let's go on a Friday, March the 7th of the year 2025. Beware the Ides of March, Julius Caesar would say. Beware the Ides of March, but we're not in the Ides of March. We're in the Ides of the Carnivore Diet, baby. And that's what we're talking about today. Let's say hello to our new places, new faces. A lot of Ohio folks checking in. We got Chesterland, Ohio. We got the Natty. We've got Findlay, Ohio. And of course, my second home down there when I used to work ABC Sports in Lexington, Kentucky. What up, Lexington? Go Cats. A lot of response to my new carnivore diet. So today, I'm going to take a little bit of time here to address how it's been going. This is day 18 for me. It has been nothing short of transformative up to this point. Let me tell you, just red meat, salt, water, chicken, pork, bacon, etc. No vegetables, no fiber, no carbohydrates, no sugar, no processed foods. From increased energy and mental clarity to noticeable physical changes already, just 18 days in. This experiment, this journey I'm taking, has easily already exceeded my expectations. As I was reflecting on this, I touched upon it a couple weeks ago. I can't help but draw parallels to another very significant turning point in my life, maybe the most significant, when I quit alcohol over 9 years ago. Made that decision to remove alcohol from my life. And obviously, as many of you can imagine, that's a hardcore choice that comes with a very unique, powerful set of challenges, but ultimately led to indescribable rewards when it comes to just living. This beautiful gift of living and life that we have, this finite gift in this infinite universe. You want to take advantage of it. You want to, well, at least I do. I want to see how much life I can squeeze out of this thing. And now, with this carnivore diet, I find myself experiencing a very similar process mentally. You know, the struggles at first, trying to understand, trying to unlearn things that I've just thought were true all my life, and followed by an overwhelming sense of clarity, control, and well-being. It's like stepping out of the fog or the matrix and then looking and seeing the fog. Like, what the hell? I was in that? So today I'm going to discuss the physical, the mental, and the emotional shifts that I've encountered so far, addressing some very common concerns, especially regarding, here we go, wait for it, cholesterol, the LDL question, and diving into why this lifestyle might be worth considering. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm not saying that you should do anything without first consulting your physician, your doctor, whoever you trust with your health and your body and your mind. Let me be clear, make that disclaimer. This is my personal journey, and I'm just sharing tidbits because of the feedback I've received. It's pretty awesome. A lot of people, just like when I talk about alcohol, they want to know more. They have specific questions. Today, I'm going to try to help the best that I can. Just a beginner's guide, okay? I mean, clearly I've just started, but man, there's a lot to talk about in a very short period of time. So whether you're a seasoned carnivore, just curious, or if you're looking for inspiration to make a major change in your life, no matter what it is, perhaps this episode is for you. Number one, let's start with committing to a major change, carnivore diet, giving up alcohol. Our brains don't like that, okay? Our brains want us to be right where we are. They want us to stay comfy and cozy, no matter how dangerous or detrimental to our health that cozy, comfy situation may be. So committing to a major change in your life starts with what? We've talked about this many, many times. The D word, the big word, the decision. And the definition of decision is to cut off all other choices. There are no options. There are no choices. The decision has been made. Quitting smoking, cutting out sugar from your diet, any major change that you're going to make, putting down the alcohol, it starts with a decision. All right? One that often goes against conventional wisdom. When I personally heard about the carnivore diet for the first time a couple years ago, completely in one ear at the other, dismissive, absolutely not even a thought of consideration. No vegetables, no fiber, no variety. Seemed very extreme, just like quitting alcohol once did. Before I stopped drinking, alcohol, perhaps many of you can relate to this, it just felt like an integral part of life, something that's just always there. It's not only socially acceptable, it's borderline socially required. In many ways, I had no idea that how much better I would feel once it was completely removed. But first, I had to overcome that legitimate fear. Will I have friends? Can I go out to places? What will people think of me? How will I function? The same turns out is true for food. Always assuming, right? We always assume you need some sort of balance, you need fiber, that cravings were normal. But as I've cut everything down to the essentials, meat, animal products, eggs, animal fats, I've really realized how much of what I used to consume was not only unnecessary, but detrimental to how I was feeling on the micro level day to day. And frankly, how harmful it is and was to the macro level or my overall well being. Much like sobriety, making this change has meant facing resistance, not just from myself, but from those around me. When you stop drinking, what happens? Oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? What, you can't just have one? You're not an alcoholic. Come on, you could just have one. Nobody wants to drink alone. Okay, alcohol's a depressant. Nobody wants to be down in the barrel by themselves. Just have one. Come on, what are you doing? Nobody wants to see you climb out. Nobody wants to see you climb out of that hole when they're in the hole. You understand? So it's very challenging on many levels. So no vegetables? I mean, you essentially get laughed at. And I'd laugh at myself too just a few weeks ago. No vegetables? Come on, that can't be healthy. Give me a break. What about cholesterol? Heart disease? You're going to have a heart attack. I trusted my instincts and my personal experience when I removed alcohol from my life. It's not what everybody else is doing. And I'm trusting my instincts and my personal experience by removing the vast majority of food and drink. And the results are blaringly speaking for themselves. So once you make the decision, component number 2, withdrawal and adjustment. Okay, the first week of any major change is obviously going to be the most difficult, especially the first few days. I can remember when I gave up drinking. I can remember laying in bed at night and I would itch. I would itch my leg. I would itch so bad that I couldn't sleep. I would itch and itch and itch and sometimes even draw blood on my legs. Your brain is playing games. Okay, and by games, I'm talking about it's used to having something and it's reacting. It's trying to get you to give it, to feed it that thing. I'll let you stop itching if you drink that whiskey. Well, sure enough, the good thing about your body and your mind, as miraculous and powerful as it is, it doesn't have a mind of its own, and it will adjust to what you're doing. And after just a couple of days of not drinking, I was blasting off into a different level of health and mental clarity. Same with the food. Okay? I personally, I was afraid of the keto flu. You know, they talk about symptoms when you first give up carbs because you're so dependent upon carbs that you eat all the time, processed foods, carbohydrates, et cetera, et cetera. So I've been drinking a gallon of water a day. My personal experience was amazing. I had no symptoms whatsoever in terms of headaches, irritability, whatever. You could look it up. None of that stuff. But the one thing is something that's very familiar being taken away from you. Okay, it wasn't just alcohol itself. It was the habits and the routines and the time and associated with it. It wasn't just the food itself, but the first couple of days, I'd have moments where it's like, oh man, where's my Gatorade Zero? Or where's my energy drink or protein bar? It's like, oh yeah, it's just kind of habitual. It's almost more habit than anything. So the transition to carnivore felt remarkably similar to my transition to no alcohol. First few days, very challenging. But here's what happens. Right around day 2, day 3, day 4, something shifts. Your energy begins to return. Energy like you don't remember having. It's a real energy. It's not the highs and lows and the crashes of the energy drinks and the things that we consume, the caffeine, et cetera, which, by the way, I will say you're allowed to have coffee on the carnivore diet. And I've had not one cup of coffee in 18 days. No caffeine, nothing but water. And I'm as alert and awake and have as much energy as I've ever had. The bloating you feel, after, the feeling when you're eating the wrong things, and that's gone. Last but certainly not least, the sleep. Let's talk about my sleep. It's completely and utterly transformed my sleep. I fall asleep naturally and better, and I sleep deeper, and I wake up more refreshed than I have I can't remember how long. That, in my opinion, has been the most amazing benefit among all these other benefits. So it's really clear I'm now seeing, just like I did with alcohol, that you don't need these certain foods to feel satisfied or fueled. Number 3, mental clarity, mood, cognitive performance. As I just touched upon, one of the most surprising benefits of sobriety was the drastic improvement of my mental clarity. Now, I'm seeing a similar transformation in this carnivore diet. By the second week, my productivity skyrocketed. My thoughts felt clearer. My ability to focus was sharper. The mid-afternoon slump gone. Not constantly thinking about things like my next meal, dealing with energy crashes, cravings, etc., etc. Equally significant is mood regulation, right? Calmer, more patient, more content. I don't experience the irritability of mood swings that I, of course, once attributed to stress or lack of sleep. Instead, just a steady sense of well-being. This whole thing has made me wonder how much of our daily struggles, all of us, whether it's mood, think about the anxiety, the mood, the focus, short temper, energy, cravings, health, how much of all of this is actually influenced by our diet or what we consume. If alcohol had such a profound effect on me, why could I never see that obviously food could too? Number 4, physical changes, weight, strength, recovery. Let's shift to the physical side of things. Okay. As you can imagine, you put the alcohol down, you're going to notice a change almost immediately. Your face is going to look less puffy, skin's going to improve, feel lighter, not just in weight, but overall energy. Of course you will. You know that. We all know that. However, with the carnivore diet, it's hard. You know, you're staring at a ribeye steak or ground beef or eggs or bacon constantly, and you're thinking, man, it just goes against everything I've ever been programmed to believe. Believe it or not, these physical improvements have been even more pronounced. We've got the daily physical pictures to prove it. Day 1 to day 18 days, and to see the physical changes just in your body. I mean, your waistline tightens up, the muscles are more defined. I feel stronger. I teach classes at Title Boxing Club. I'm jumping around, going crazy. I've got energy to spare for days. What's most interesting is that none of it feels forced, if that makes sense. My good friend Heather was talking about her husband. He's resistant because he says, I don't like diets, right? The word diet, it automatically has a negative connotation in our minds and our subconscious. It means restrictive, right? Well, what you're eating and drinking right now in life is your diet. We all have a diet. Right now, you are restricting things and not eating things you're not even aware of. So when we shift, the one thing people are worried about is that you think you're going to be hungry and you can only eat. No, this is the most beautiful thing, is that it's not, you don't have to restrict or count calories. I'm not over analyzing macros. I'm not obsessing over meal timing. My body is naturally adapting to this way of eating. And let me tell you, it's hard to describe. When you're hungry, you're hungry. There's no like leading up to it. You're kind of hungry, cravings here and there. No. When it's time to eat, it's time to eat. Your stomach's like, let's go. And you eat the fat and the protein and no carbs, no sugar. And you become so incredibly satiated, not stuffed, not full, not gassy. Oh, I don't think I've had flatulence. You know, it's weird. You're not bloated. It's just the way it's supposed to be. And shame on me. I've never felt this before. You just feel clean inside. So that's the best way I can describe. And when you're hungry, you eat. It doesn't matter what time. It doesn't matter when. When you're hungry, you eat, period. Then there's recovery. Let's talk about recovery. Most of us really don't ever believe that the food that we're eating could impact us in that way. So now, as a carnivore, I'm experiencing just recovery like never before, right? When I work out, stronger, endurance, way better. Joints feel better than they have. There's no inflammation. There's no pain. Just fascinating in terms of physical improvement. All right, number 5, here we go. The LDL cholesterol question. One of the biggest concerns people have about the carnivore diet is cholesterol, and rightfully so, specifically LDL. I totally get it. I mean, I used to represent Bystolic, which is a 4th generation beta blocker for hypertension. And I would, talk to cardiologists every day. I know what everyone hears and thinks and learns. What if my LDL goes up? What if it isn't good for my long-term health? Okay, that's the biggest fear. And here's the reality. Cholesterol isn't this big scary word that we all think it is. Cholesterol is imperative in your body. Everything in your body, including LDL, has a function, a very specific function. Cholesterol is created by your body. It is something that's imperative. Your brain is 20% cholesterol. We need it. A lot of us forget that. It's just, whoa, got to look at LDL. But LDL alone isn't a strong predictor of heart disease, Okay. What matters more is the overall metabolic picture: HDL, triglycerides, inflammation markers, insulin sensitivity. Okay. Based on the research and countless anecdotal experiences, people on carnivore tend to see improvements across the board. That means higher HDL, lower triglycerides, reduced inflammation, and controlled insulin. If you're concerned, if you're thinking about doing this, and it's something I recommend looking beyond your standard cholesterol panel. Tests like the NMR lipid profile or a coronary artery calcium scan, CAC, provide a much clearer picture of cardiovascular health than just your LDL alone. I had to unlearn certain narratives about alcohol, such as the idea of it being necessary for socializing or stress relief. I've also had to unlearn misconceptions about fat, cholesterol, and what truly drives heart disease. I invite you to do the same. Now, another big one. What do you mean you can't eat vegetables? Why aren't you eating your vegetables? Everyone knows they're good for us, right? It's interesting, the paradox. Eliminating alcohol is understandable, but eliminating broccoli, now that's where people draw the line. I get most of us were raised that vegetables are essential for health. Fiber is necessary for digestion, and that a diet without leafy greens is incomplete. Now, I too believe that my whole life. I've huge spinach, just jam handfuls of spinach in every smoothie. Love the greens. They help fight cancer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when I started digging deeper, I realized that much of what we've been told about vegetables isn't as clear cut as we may think. For example, are they necessary? The idea that we need vegetables is largely based on the assumption that they provide essential vitamins, minerals, and fiber that we can't get elsewhere, right? Let's break it down. Number one, micronutrients. Meat, particularly organ meats, okay, and red fatty meats, ribeye steaks, etc., provide all the essential vitamins and minerals in highly bioavailable forms. For example, beef liver contains far more vitamin A, iron, and B vitamins than any vegetables. Even muscle meat provides a dense source of nutrition without the plant-based anti-nutrients that can interfere with absorption. How about fiber? The belief that fiber is necessary for digestion is deeply ingrained in our culture. But there's really no clear scientific consensus proving that we must consume fiber for gut health. In fact, many people, including myself right now, experienced improved digestion, less bloating, and better bowel regularity when eliminating the fiber. It's wild. Studies have shown actually in some cases reducing fiber intake can actually relieve issues like constipation. I'm going to repeat that. It can relieve constipation rather than worsen it. Okay? Number three, anti-nutrients in plants. While vegetables contain beneficial compounds, they also contain anti-nutrients like oxalates, lectins, phytates. These substances can block the absorption of essential minerals like calcium, magnesium, and iron. Some people, especially those with autoimmune conditions or gut sensitivities, actually feel better when they eliminate these plant compounds. You never tried it, right? You never thought of it. Maybe now's the time. But haven't we always eaten vegetables? This is another one I hear constantly. Humans have always eaten plants and vegetables. How can you be cutting them out? They're healthy. Well, here's the thing. Historically, humans ate what was available. Early hunter-gatherers prioritized animal foods because they were the most nutrient-dense and energy-efficient. Plants were a fallback food, eaten only when meat was scarce. Even in most recent history, we see evidence that some societies thrived on animal-based diets alone with no plant life. What about longevity and disease prevention? How about the argument that plant-based diets are linked to longevity and lower rates of disease? But correlation doesn't equal causation. Many studies that associate vegetable consumption with health benefits fail to account for what? Other lifestyle factors. People who eat more veggies often exercise more. They smoke less. They avoid processed junk food. That's what's up. That's how they roll. And that's awesome. It doesn't necessarily mean it's just the vegetables, okay? That's not what's single-handedly responsible for all the better health outcomes. You have to factor in the other things. On the flip side now, we're seeing an increasing number of people improving their metabolic health, reducing inflammation, and even reversing autoimmune conditions by eliminating plants and adopting a meat-based diet. The bottom line, folks, it's not about being dogmatic about this particular, the carnivore program. That's the one I'm choosing to roll with right now. It's about how you feel. Take a look at what you're eating and drinking on a day-to-day basis, okay? Then take some inventory on how you're feeling. How's your energy, your joints, your inflammation, your How's your depression? How's your focus? All these things. Take a look. And take a look what you're eating and drinking. And based on the incredible results I have felt in just under 3 weeks, I would highly recommend taking the scalpel out and cutting out some of those things that you consume every day without even thinking about it unconsciously. And then see what happens. All right? Don't get another prescription. Let's try medicine of thy food. I'm not telling people they must stop eating vegetables, but I do challenge the assumption that they're absolutely necessary now for optimal health. And the only way that you or anybody else, me, can know for sure is just to experiment with your own body. Experiment with what you're putting in it. And then let me know. Initially, I planned on doing this for 30 days and then doing the intermittent fasting the final 45 days of the 75 hard. But immediately, almost instantly, knew that I was going to go the whole 75 days. And frankly, right now, I'm thinking about committing for a full year just because I'm so excited to see where this leads, how things change over the course of a steady 12 months of this. So that's where I'm at right now. The level of energy, the mental clarity, overall well-being, it's just too significant to ignore. My sleep, my number one, my sleep, it's like a joke. It's like a practical joke. I mean, I lay down in bed, boom, lights out, wake up. Hey, another 6.5 hours, just solid sleep, no alarm needed. Ready to go, man. So it's incredible. The changes aren't just subtle improvements. They have been profound shifts that affect every aspect of my life so far. I'm going to keep trusting and listening to my body. I'm going to listening instead of blindly following conventional wisdom. All right. That's where I'm at. That's where I plan on being. I want to track my energy, my levels, and I have been, my energy levels, my sleep patterns, and my strength gains. Also, of course, plan on getting my blood work done in the very near future. I get it done every year. Now I'm going to do it every 6 months. While I feel incredible, I want to see the data behind these changes. What's happening with my inflammatory markers, with my insulin levels, and yes, of course, my LDL cholesterol. And I'll share all this with you. I just want a better understanding to my body's response of this way of eating. If I see improvements in metabolic health, I'll know I'm on the right track. And by God, just keep on rocking. Now, beyond the physical aspect, I also want to explore the mental and emotional transformations. I want to keep rolling with this. I already feel calmer, more focused, more in control of my impulses. What happens after 60 days, 90 days? Will my mental clarity continue to sharpen? Will my productivity, which, by the way, I haven't even mentioned, the productivity's through the roof. It's ridiculous. But will it increase even more? I mean, what is to come? I mean, this is like a wild path of positivity that I never knew existed. What other habits do I hold on to that aren't serving me? This is what this type of discipline unlocks in your mind. Because what? Discipline equals what? Freedom. Discipline equals freedom, right? We all fall into lulls. We all fall into bad times. The question is whether it'll last a month, a week, a year, 5 years. We all need to sharpen the edges somewhere, right? Isn't it good to do that? Some of you do dry January or sober October, right? Isn't it nice to have that structure, that discipline? It makes you feel you've got to stick to something in the spirit of self-improvement. What other habits do I hold on to that aren't serving me? If I can let go of alcohol and processed foods, what the hell else is possible? One thing I know for sure is I want to keep sharing this. Quit alcohol, and I blaze the trail out there. People constantly wanting to talk to me, making sure it's okay, making sure it's safe, making sure there is a life behind the curtain of eliminating alcohol. And absolutely there is a life that you can't even imagine. You just don't know. But for those of you that are about to take that jump, you will. Similar to that, I want to keep sharing this journey. My alcohol journey is over 9 years. I'm only 18 days in here, but I want to keep sharing. I want to keep helping. Just like I have there, I want to do it here now with the Carnivore Diet. There's just not enough hardcore data for everybody out there to talk about what specific diet is the best for everybody. Don't be afraid to go against the grain and trust yourself and how you feel and what your journey is. I am consuming information every day. I want to continue learning. I'm doing this. So I'm consuming information. I'm reading. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm trying to get a grasp on the real science behind this particular lifestyle the best I can so I can share it with everybody else, helping people see that red meat may not be the enemy after all, and that perhaps we've been a little misled with the old food pyramid about what real nutrition looks like. All right. I also want to connect. I also want to keep connecting with the carnivore and the low carb community. All right. I've already had some really good comments, some awesome support. Right. It's badass. I've found that doing this with friends or having support is probably the way to go. You know, my best buddy Ed Conley and I are doing this together, and man, we love sharing stories and talk about how we're feeling. I want to contribute to that space the best I can, whether through sharing my journey, answering questions, or just being an example of what's possible, right? If I can do this, if I can do this, if I can give up alcohol, you can. If I can do the carnivore diet, right? You can. The big picture is that how one single decision creates such a ripple effect in everything in my life, right? You stop drinking, you become more disciplined, more intentional with time, more control of decisions, obviously. Same is happening now with carnivore. When you prove to yourself that you could commit to something, I'm going to repeat that because we've all done it at some point. We just forget. When you prove to yourself, you could hear the joy in my voice right now, that you can commit to something, especially when it's hard, especially when it's the road less traveled, especially when it's delayed gratification, not instant gratification. Anybody can do sunshine, rainbows, grad parties, happy hour, booze fest. Anybody can do that. Not everybody can be disciplined enough to make a life-changing, life-altering decision and then commit to it. But when you do, all of a sudden this thing happens. You start to believe again the way we're supposed to believe, that we can take on anything. I right now feel more motivated to push myself in every other area in my life, whether it's fitness, personal growth, or simply being just a better version of myself. I feel more motivated now than I have in a very, very long time. Okay? It's amazing how you can reignite that belief just by making a decision and sticking to a discipline. Man, it is powerful stuff. And that's what it's really all about. It's not just about food. It's about taking ownership of my health, my mindset, my future. Enough with the walking around complaining. Enough with it, Case. Enough with, you know, as the great Chris Rock once said, have you ever been sick and tired of being sick and tired? That's what happened. And it's about proving to myself that I can break free again from another amazingly challenging habit and outdated beliefs to truly thrive. So if you're listening to this and you're on the fence about making a big change, whether it's your diet, quitting alcohol, or another major lifestyle shift, here's what I'd say. Give yourself permission to experiment. Experiment. Give up alcohol for a day and you freak out, you jump it. Okay? The alcohol's not going anywhere. The sugar's not going anywhere. The constant ads for food and taste and cravings, they're not going anywhere. Experiment. Push through that initial discomfort a little bit. Ignore the noise from people who don't understand. And frankly, that's just about everybody in your sphere of influence that you consider a friend and family member. It's just amazing how negative and toxic and gossipy and weird these friends and family members can be, especially when you find yourself on a path toward the light of truth and wisdom and self-awareness. Oh my God. Find someone who will support you because they truly, truly want what's best for you. And they'll give you grace because they remember they've needed grace many times. It's a lost art. So many people I encounter every day, they're so full of anger and angst and bitterness. Did you forget? Did you forget how much grace that you've needed in your life? Well, I sure haven't. So the people that are about to make a big change, that's advice from my heart. Mute the noise. Find someone who really supports you and cares and start walking, baby. All right. That's about it for today. I appreciate you tuning in. All right. I'd love to hear from you. Drop a little comment there in the YouTube, or you can text through Spotify, iTunes. So reach out and let's continue this conversation. Okay. Until next time, folks, stay strong, stay curious, eat your red meat. Drink your water. God bless. Take it easy. My name's Casey. This is Casey on Tap. See you next week. Bye-bye.